It is 9:48, and I would like to call the meeting of the Building and Operating Committee of November 20th, 2025. But before we begin, please note that this meeting is being recorded. Welcome to everyone joining us here in person, as well as those listening in on the phone. If you would like to provide public comment at today's meeting, and if you have not already done so, please let Thomas in the back of the room or Justine on the call-in line know what items you would like to speak to today. Madam Secretary, please begin by calling the roll.
Thank you. Good morning. We're going to start with the committee members, starting with Director Devlin, who's absent. Budice?
Here.
Maston?
Here.
Parr?
Present.
Rapid is absent. Vice Chair Rodoni?
Present.
Chair Garbarino?
Here.
And President Cochran?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum of the committee, but you also have, with the re-arrival of Director Moulton Peters, you are a committee in the whole now. So you also have in the room Directors Fernandez, Hill, Moulton Peters, and Snyder.
I think we should give Stephanie a round of applause. And she got here.
Getting good at that.
Yep.
Thanks to Dennis, I got here.
Thank you again, Amaret. Please follow along by referring to the page numbers located on the bottom right-hand corner of your meeting packet. We will begin with agenda item number 3, which is to approve actions relative to award of contract number 2025F023 Ferry Fleet Replacement Program to Maverick Marine Incorporated. The staff report begins on page 5, and Mike Hoffman is here today to present. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of the committee. The item before you recommends that the Building and Operating Committee forward to the Board of Directors approval for several actions related to contract number 2025F23 Ferry Fleet Program. These actions include approval of the award of contract number 2025F23 to Maverick Marine Incorporated in the amount of $92,429,639, contingent upon MMI completing a satisfactory pre-award by American Audit. Authorization of contingency budget in the amount of $8,822,696 for contract number 2025F23, and authorization for the general manager to approve change orders up to the approved project budgets to address unforeseen circumstances. Approval of FY 25-26 capital budget increase for project number 1940, purchase new vessel in the amount of $29,026,833 for a total project budget of $59,026,833. And amendment of FY 25-26 Ferry Division capital budget accordingly, subject to the concurrence of the Finance and Auditing Committee. And lastly, approval of fiscal year 25-26 capital budget increase for project number 2445 Del Norte replacements in the amount of $29,625,134 for a total project budget of $59,170,134, and replacement of the FY 25-26 Ferry Division capital budget or amendment of the fiscal year 25-26 Ferry Division capital budget accordingly, also subject to Finance and Auditing Committee concurrence. All that being said, the district currently operates 7 vessels, 4 high-speed catamarans, and 3 legacy Spalding-class monohulls. Spalding vessels entered service between 1976 and 1976, making them nearly 50 years old. As for the catamaran fleet, the Del Norte entered service in 1998. The Golden Gate and Napa entered service in 1998 and 1999, respectively, for the Washington State Ferry System. This was before they were purchased by the district. And the Mendocino entered service in 2001. So the newest vessel in our fleet, the Mendocino, reaches 25 years of age next year. And the remainder of the fleet is well beyond that. A 25-year mark is significant because the FTA establishes a 25-year useful life for passenger vessels and makes them eligible for federal replacement funding as they approach that age. Compounding the age of the fleet are recent regulatory changes by the California Air Resource Board. The new commercial hovercraft amendments require at a minimum that vessels like ours be repowered with engines equipped with selective catalytic reduction and diesel particulate filters. During rulemaking, staff engaged multiple firms to analyze the feasibility of such repowers. Every study indicated that significant negative impacts to vessel performance, speed, passenger capacity, and fuel consumption. Additionally, external funding for repowers was uncertain, unlike the FTA replacement funding our fleet is eligible for. Given these findings and the advanced age of our vessels, staff paused and evaluated a long-term strategy for the fleet. That analysis led to development of a new fleet plan that includes replacements of all catamarans and 2 of the Spalding-class vessels. With regard to the 3rd Spalding-class vessel, the Sonoma, which recently underwent a full refurbishment, staff will continue exploring all options, which could include replacement. In August of 2022, this board awarded a contract number 2022-F12 to Aurora Marine Design in partnership with 123 Naval Architects to begin detailed design services for a new ferry vessel. Since that award, staff has worked closely with the design team. Over the last 3 years, our naval architects and staff have developed a vessel capable of operating across all routes. And as you may know, our current fleet has operational constraints. For example, Spalding-class vessels cannot meet the Larkspur schedule due to their speed. And the Golden Gate and Napa cannot operate in Angel Island or Tiburon due to incompatibility with the berths at those locations. So throughout the design process, staff engaged extensively with internal stakeholders, including the Inland Boatman Union of the Pacific, vessel masters, ferry mechanics, and our marketing team, as well as external stakeholders such as the Advisory Committee on Accessibility, the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee, and our Ferry Passenger Advisory Committee. Their input directly informed the design. Examples of that include improved ADA seating locations based on community feedback, an internal elevator providing access to both decks, including the panoramic second deck viewing area, and a dedicated external passage and stowage area accommodating up to 70 bicycles. Ultimately, the Leva class design integrates input from across the organization and communities to produce a vessel that supports customer needs and enhances the safety and comfort of our crews and passengers. The contract before you is for 2 vessels with options for up to 8 total vessels. Staff's long-term vision is to move toward a standardized fleet of 8 in-kind vessels. Fleet commonality provides substantial operational maintenance and training efficiencies, similar to the benefits realized by major airlines who use one aircraft platform. When all vessels share the same hull form, propulsion package, machinery, and onboard systems, we eliminate the fragmentation present in today's fleet. Spare parts inventories become simpler and more cost-effective, lead times shorten, and the overall maintenance burden decreases. Vessel masters and crews train on a single platform, enhancing safety, consistency, and flexibility. Operationally, any vessel can run any routes at any time, which strengthens service reliability and improves dispatch flexibility. A standardized fleet also positions the district for future regulatory changes and technology upgrades with far less engineering costs. Lastly, this fleet plan includes having an eventual spare vessel, which we would have enjoyed this last week, as recently we had service disruptions due to failures beyond our control, such as bent propellers and fouled water jets. The procurement of replacement ferry vessels represents a long-term investment in the district's operational reliability, environmental stewardship, and customer experience. The total cost for these 2 vessels, including design, is $118,143,967. Of that amount, $13,756,633 will come from district reserves, with the balance being funded through FTA replacement funds and state grant programs. Staff recommends approval of these actions described, but before I conclude, there's many staff members who deserve recognition for their efforts and input into this project, but I would like to recognize one person in particular, and that is our Ferry Director of Engineering and Maintenance, John Gray, who happens to be in the gallery. John, will you stand up?
All right.
John is the district's project manager for this project and has worked extensively to ensure that the design addresses the needs of all of our stakeholders and enhances the future of our fleet. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'll just add that kudos to Mike and to John and the entire team. This will give us, if you approve this item, a spare ferry boat, which I cannot emphasize enough we desperately need. Also, it will replace the Del Norte, so the new spare will be called the Leeway. You previously took that action. That is the Miwok name for water. And then when we replace the Del Norte, the replacement will also be called the Del Norte. The Del Norte has a 400 passenger capacity. The replacement will have a 500 passenger capacity, which helps us as we continue to see a steady, consistent growth in ferry ridership. So just wanted to add that, and kudos to Mike and his team.
Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, John Gray. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dennis. That was great. I did get all of those missives about the changes in the ferry schedule. So I thank you for that. And I have just two questions before I ask my colleagues. I was going to ask you if you could go over those numbers again. I have a mini headache. And then sometime down the road, fouled water jets.
Yes.
That's an interesting thing to have happen, I guess. But
I can talk to that briefly.
okay.
So our water jets have a bearing that is in the water, and that bearing has a seal. It's lubricated by oil. And all it takes, what we usually find when we foul a water jet is a monofilament fishing line. So a little piece of fishing line gets in there. As a result of that, the seal fails, and it requires us to do one of two things: either dry dock the vessel to replace that water jet, or if we're capable of doing it with our workforce, we can also do it internally at Larkspur.
And the new design has different water jets.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
The most important part, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's so much marine debris in the way of plastic, which is tragic.
And our Spaldings have propellers. Our high-speed vessels have water jets.
Thank you for that.
And today we have 3 bent propellers. When it's wintertime and you have king tides and you have rainfall with large runoff, what's floating in the bay is different than in the summertime.
3 bent props, and we have 2 fouled water jets. That's what we were up against this last week.
I think the 2 decreased earlier this morning, so kudos to John and his team on the quick turnaround.
Yes, thank you very much. We'll start questions with Barb.
I have a comment. We've learned a lot today, but I do have a good story. I have a friend who is in San Francisco who is totally transportation person. She emailed me and said, "You have 2 ferries down." And I went, 2 ferries? That's a lot of ferries to be down. She said, "Yes, but I took the bus over to the SMART station and rode SMART home." And I went, yes, it does work at some level.
To that point, unlike other ferry operators, we operate buses also. So when we have a ferry interruption, to the extent we have resources available, we provide bus bridges. And so this last week, Mike and his team, with Chris and Colette, have worked very closely with our marketing staff to get the message out to customers, and with our bus staff. So we've been able to provide bus bridges. So Larkspur, every other trip is provided by buses this week. And last week, when we started doing that, we also provided a bus bridge, sadly, to SMART one day. Kudos to our bus team for being able to get the bus bridge out for SMART up in Santa Rosa, as well as being able to accommodate the needs of our ferry customers.
And thank you for all of that.
Great. Are there any of my, yes.
Will the new boats prompt any changes to any of our docking facilities like at Sausalito or Tiburon?
The new boats will be able to accommodate any docking facility, but we have a separate project to ultimately replace all of our docking facilities. The team designed the vessels to be flexible, and so they have a walkway around the exterior. So if in the future they need to change access, they're not cutting a hole and moving chairs. They're basically cutting it in that, if you wish, the railing that goes around the perimeter of the boat.
That question was a plant, right? Okay. Any other questions or comments from my colleagues for Mike? Wonderful. That concludes our discussion on item number 3. But before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers from the public on this item.
Thank you again. May I have a motion on agenda item?
The item.
Second.
Second.
Great. Thank you. May we please have a roll call vote?
Thank you. We are going to be voting as a committee since Director Snyder's walked out. We're no longer a committee of the whole. I'm going to start with Director Devlin, who's absent. Giudice?
Yes.
Maston?
Yes.
Parr?
Yes.
Rabbit is absent. Vice Chair Rodoni?
Yes.
Chair Garbarino?
Yes.
And President Cochran.
Yes.
Thank you. 6-5.
Wonderful. We will continue now on to item number 4, which is to approve award of contracts relative to request for proposals number 2025-D056, on-call cybersecurity professional services. The staff report begins on page 13, and Fong Wu is here to present the report. Fong, please begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, members of committee. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. Today before you is an item that the Building and Operating Committee recommends the board to approve the award of 8 contracts relative to RFP number 2025-D-056 on-call cybersecurity professional services. And this is for on-call for professional services for a 3-year term with 2 one-year option terms and accessible at the district's sole discretion with the total aggregate amount not to exceed $3.75 million. The 8 firms are Cambridge Global Advisors, Computer Aid Incorporation, Converge Technology, Deloitte Consulting, iShift, NWN or Intervision Systems, Parsons Transportation Group, and RSI Security. This matter will be presented at the 21st board meeting for appropriate actions. In 2019, the district established a bench for on-call technology consultants through competitive solicitation. This bench has tremendously reduced the time and increased efficiency for our solicitation process. And for these on-call consultants, they have conducted many important projects and work for the district, such as penetration tests of the network and servers, and advisory for cyber security posture, and remediation of cybersecurity incidents, as some examples. And on May 2nd, 2025, the district issued this RP number 2025-D-056. The RP was sent out to 42 potential proposers. Among those, 29 responded and submitted their proposals. We have a selection committee, and the committee went through criteria such as, the proposal understanding and approach, the proposer's qualifications and experience, and cost, and came up with the top 8 firms that met all our criteria. The 8 firms demonstrated their understanding of the RP and district's needs, as well as their experiences and qualifications. Additionally, these firms have experience working with local government and or transportation agencies. None of these 8 firms were SBE, although we did encourage reach out to SBE and have them respond. One of these firms did choose an SBE as one of their subcontractors. For financial impact, the total aggregate not to exceed amount will be $3.75 million. This is again for 3-year term with the 2 one-year option terms. The service and the amount of funding is definitely not a promise. This is based on the district needs as well as our project needs and going through the budget proposal, and so that we only would issue the funds to work that are approved by the budget process. And the budget will come from districts either operating or capital budgets. With that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Fong, for your report. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues on this item? That concludes our discussion then on item number 4. But before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers from the public on this item.
Thank you. May I have a motion on agenda item number 4?
Second.
Thank you. And Amaret, do you mind please doing the roll call, please?
We got it. Item number 4, we'll start with Director Dell. It's absent. Giudice?
Yes.
Maston?
Yes.
Farr?
Yes.
Raddick is absent. Vice Chair Rodoni?
Yes.
Garbarino?
Yes.
And President Coughlin.
Yes.
Okay. It's unanimous on the committee.
And we will now continue on to item number 5, which is to approve actions relative to contract number 2019F058, Larkspur Ferry Service and Parking Expansion Environmental Clearance and Preliminary Design Study. The staff report begins on page 17, and Ron Downing is here to present the report. Ron, go right ahead.
Good morning, Chair Garbarino, members of the committee. This action is related to contract number 2019F058 with Jacobs Engineering, the Larkspur Ferry Service and Parking Expansions, Environmental Clearance, and Preliminary Design. David Dick from the Jacobs team is here with me today. And this continues our ongoing delving into the issues surrounding the Larkspur Ferry expansion with future ridership growth, issues raised by the community, and finally, reflecting the purchase of the new Liwa class ferries, which we need to do some additional work for in the EIR document. So this is the third amendment to the contract. There was a second amendment issued in July of this year to extend the contract to the end of 2025. We're almost at that point. There's additional work to be done. The environmental work will be conducted over the next 6 months or so, resulting in a draft document in the summer of 2025, probably in the third quarter. Some of the contributing efforts that we have had to expand the scope of this is, quite frankly, changing travel patterns. When we first issued this contract in 2020 with Jacobs, the Jacobs proposal had one alternative that we would scope in the study, which was to increase the number of Larkspur ferry trips and to build a parking structure. As we went through the scoping process for that beginning environmental study, we found out from the public that they wanted more than just a parking structure to be constructed as part of this project. The other thing that's been very much in flex is what the future travel demand will be like in the 101 corridor, and in particular for the Larkspur ferry. So we've done more travel demand modeling with the consultant team than we initially anticipated. That required additional resources. Through the public, we are proposing to carry forward 3 different alternatives in the environmental process compared to the one that was originally scoped. And you will see those on page 3 of the staff report. Under the California Environmental Quality Act process, we need to evaluate, first of all, what we call a no-build or no-project alternative. That would basically reflect if we did nothing to improve the number of ferry crossings nor the landside access. It's a sure bet that that will not meet our future travel demand needs, but we have to do it under CEQA. The other alternatives, as you see, we have titled them so that they are user-friendly to the public. The initial rollout of these alternatives was very much planner speak, engineer speak. So we're trying to make it much more understandable to the public. And the second alternative will be to expand ferry service. That is the cornerstone of what we're doing across all of these alternatives. With future parking structure or structures to be built in phases according to future demand. What we heard from the public is that didn't go far enough. There were people that came to our environmental scoping meeting
they wanted the whole feeder bus network to come back, and they were willing to call it a day at that. Our consultant team was a bit more creative, and in scoping this alternative, we would have bicycle, pedestrian, and transit improvement also to be considered. Transit, looking ahead to the future, could actually be more than just shuttle buses. It could be on-demand type of TNC vehicles to bring people to the ferry terminal. So again, more work to expand the scope of that alternative. And the middle ground to those two alternatives I described just now is to do a combination of parking structure along with bicycle, pedestrian, and transit improvements. So again, more work required in that arena. The other area that attracted a lot of attention from the public is what the wake analysis would show for our current ferries. It looked pretty good in the initial analysis that's in draft form the consultant did. We had comments from some of the residents around the ferry terminal that felt we didn't have enough measuring devices in an expansive enough array. So that work was conducted this spring. However, the big part of the wake analysis is, quite frankly, the Leeward class ferries that you had voted to move forward this morning, where those will have completely different design characteristics to our existing fleet, as you heard from Mike Hoffman. We anticipate that the wake will be even more improved from those ferries. They'll be much more aerodynamic, but we do need to do a technical analysis as part of this environmental review. And that will involve simulating what the Leeward class operations will be like. Obviously, we don't have one here now. We won't have one in time for the completion of this EIR, but it is a cornerstone of what we want to move forward in this document for. So the item that's before you, the third amendment proposes a contract amendment in the sum of $2,317,910. Increasing the project contingency by $231,791. And so this total budget increase of $2,549,701 would be an amendment to the fiscal 25-26 Ferry Division capital budget. This would also extend the term of the contract with Jacobs to the first quarter of 2027. We anticipate a final environmental document to be brought to the board in December of 2026 for your consideration. There will be some further cleanup work after that document is approved. And just to reiterate what I have mentioned in previous presentations on this project, this is an environmental document that will clear the potential for doing these things in the future. It does not, at this point, commit the board to building a parking structure, implementing shuttle buses, or any of the possible improvements that we contemplate here. These alternatives are just for comparison to one another to come up with a preferred alternative in the environmental document that you can move forward with a lot of latitude and discretion for future decisions. So I think that concludes my report. I would be happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Thank you, Ron, for your report and for listening and responding to a very exacting public. Are there any questions or comments from directors on this item? Yes, Jim.
It's minor, but on page 20 is this statement. The consultant team determined that the current fleet of high-speed catamarans and Spalding-class ferries have no measurable impact on the shoreline. Is that actually due to the constraints that have been put on our ferries in the channels when traveling through the channel, or is it actually due to the construction of the ferries? And you kind of mentioned it on the layaway.
It's due to the fact that the weather can produce a much greater wave impact in our ferry boats, and so the shoreline erosion is driven principally by storm events. And so we have done wake analysis with our existing boats. It's also important to note, for those who have been around for a long time, the Spaldings were first constructed. They had gas turbine engines. This was before the oil crisis. They've since obviously been repowered. So they operated several years with gas turbines. And so they get those 165-foot long boats up on a plane with huge rooster tails behind them. So that's how we started our ferry service. It's evolved over time. Then the Spaldings were repowered with diesel. They still have compared to the catamarans, a fairly significant wake profile, but much less than a storm event. The catamarans have a smaller wake profile, and the new Libra class vessels will have an even smaller wake profile because they're much more efficient as they move through the water. But it is important to go through the technical analysis to gather data and to share that, factual information with the public so they can weigh in on the alternatives before that.
My question really relates to, we've put constraints on our travel through the channels.
Yes. That's part of an environmental clearance that was done when we acquired the Del Norte. We previously were operating up to 26 trips a day out of Larkspur, and so your predecessors went through an environmental process that raised that limit to 42 trips. And as part of that process, there is a speed restriction on the 2-mile-long channel that exits. Someday, with newer boats, we would be interested in revisiting that speed profile because if we could transit it with a faster speed, it would reduce travel time, which would further incentivize people to take transit.
I guess my point really is that we're taking steps to mitigate those issues regardless of the design of the ship or the ferry.
We're taking steps with the design to reduce the impacts to the environment.
Okay.
And Director Maston, the analysis reflects those current day operating conditions.
Okay.
So it doesn't contemplate any change from that as Dennis described. That would be a future event.
Yeah.
So we're looking at current day, the restrictions in the channel, directives from the Deputy General Manager for Ferry as to how the captains turn the boats in the channel and so on. So it's status quo as far as what the analysis is based on.
Okay. But I should state for the record, within the last year, we have changed how we turn the vessels in the channel based on feedback for the nearby residents of the Green Bay Boardwalk. And so the Green Bay Boardwalk asked for some changes. Mike and his staff were able to issue a operating bulletin that when conditions allow, we can do the turn differently as long as it's safe.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anyone else? That concludes our discussion on item number 5. Before we begin our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers on this item.
Thank you. May I have a motion on agenda item number 5?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. May we have the roll call vote?
We're voting on item number 5 as a committee, starting with Director Devlin, who's absent. Giudice?
Yes.
Maston?
Yes.
Parr?
Yes.
Rabbit is absent. Vice Chair Rodoni?
Yes.
Chair Garbarino?
Yes.
And President Cochran?
Yes.
Thank you. 6 ayes.
Thank you. We will continue on now to item number 6, which is to approve award of contract number 2025 D120. Next Gen. Sorry, I should have asked you before. A phase 2 upgrade and system migration project to Innovations in Transportation Incorporated, which is INIT. The staff report begins on page 23, and Fong Lu is here again to present the report. Fong, go right ahead.
Yeah, good morning again. Today before you is an item that Building and Operating Committee recommends the board approve contract number 2025-D-120 INIT ITCS Next Gen Phase 2 upgrade project. This item will be presented tomorrow at 21st board meeting for appropriate actions. The INIT software is a software that the district's bus division has used since 2015. The software is primarily for the bus operations to provide voice, radio, communication, and CAD, which is computer-aided dispatching, real-time passenger information, including trip update and APC data or automatic passenger counter data, of course, mobility management and reporting. In 2020, the INIT system was upgraded to use the virtualization functionalities. And then this project also migrated the system from a physical environment to a virtual environment, which had a lot of enhancements and improvements in security and reliability. In 2025, the system went through phase 1 after the district finished the phase 1 of the project upgrade, we are in need for doing the phase 2 project in order to be still part of the vendor support. And also at the same time, the phase 2 will upgrade the ITCS, which is intermodal transport control system, for a number of things: mobile statistics, flashback for historical data playback, mobile e-flow, as well as the control and vehicle applications to the latest version. And so we're ready, and we need to upgrade the system according to the need for its functionality. And then this upgrade, more importantly, as mentioned, will help us remain under the vendors management and support, and it will also improve, of course, the user experience and enable future enhancements. After the completion of this project, the ITCS upgrade, staff will continue planning for the next phase of the INIT system for phase 3. The phase 3 will, encompass the remaining modules and infrastructure enhancements, which is very necessary to achieve comprehensive system improvements. INIT is the only provider for our INIT ITCS system, so this qualifies them as a sole source in the contract as a part of the, according to the district's procurement manual. INIT is not qualified as an SPE, just wanted to mention that. For financial impact, this upgrade, we are asking the approval for a contract of $465,242 in the capital expenses, and this will be funded in the capital project number 2611 CAT AVL system refresh or replace as part of the 25-26 district budget. This project is 100% district funded, and there are currently sufficient funds in the capital project to support the upgrade. With that, I'm happy to answer questions. Any questions?
Thank you, Fawn. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Item. That concludes our discussion on item number 6. But before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak?
We have no speakers from the public on this item.
Thank you once again. May I have a motion on agenda item number 6?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. May we have a roll call vote?
Sure thing. Voting on item number 6, starting with Director Devlin. Who's absent? Chief.
Yes.
Maston.
Yes.
Parr.
Yes.
Rabbit's absent. Vice Chair Rodoni.
Yes.
Chair Garbarino.
Yes.
And President Conrad.
Yes.
Thank you. 6-0.
Thank you. And we will continue now on to item number 7, which is to approve actions relative to the revised award of contract number 2025 MD053, district-wide janitorial services to Aim to Please Janitorial Services Incorporated. The staff report begins on page 25, and Dave Rivera is here to present the report. Dave, go right ahead.
Good morning, Chair Garbarino and Board of Directors. I'm here today to talk about this. We awarded a contract back in September, and we need to make a revision. So we need to revise contract number 2025-ND053, the district-wide janitorial services to Aim to Please. The difference between this revision is we did not include the ferry terminals, and as you can see on the pricing, it's an increase of $583,896 for a total amount of $2,215,434 for this project. So it doesn't alter this recommendation, or the correction does not alter our recommendation to award the contract. It only corrects the total not to exceed amount to include all costs. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I will add that this is no contract specific disadvantaged business enterprise or small business enterprise goal was established for this contract. Proposers were encouraged to obtain DBE SDN participation Aim to Please is a certified DBE, so 100% DBE participation will occur during the performance of this contract.
Full disclosure, we made a mistake in the staff.
Yeah.
Just get it out there.
Oversight.
So we're not sugarcoating anything. Oops. Yeah, whoops. It was scored by the dollar amount, but when the staff report was prepared, it's almost looking at the column and they left something out. So apologies from staff.
Very honorable. Thank you, Dave, for your report. Are there any questions or comments from directors on this item? That concludes the discussion on item number 7. But before we take our vote, anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers on this item.
Thank you. May I have a motion on agenda item number 7?
I aim to move approval.
Second.
You were waiting to do that, weren't you?
You were just aiming to please, weren't you?
Right. Yeah, you were aiming to make that. Good. It's a good one. Thank you. Amarat, will you please do the roll call vote?
Thank you. Starting with Director Devlin, who's absent. Giudice?
Yes.
Maston?
Yes.
Parr?
Yes, was there a second?
Yes. Okay. He aimed to please that first, and then he aimed to please the second. Director Robbins absent. Vice Chair Rodoni?
Yes.
Chair Marino?
Yes.
And President Cochran?
Yes.
Thank you. Your ayes are unanimous.
Thank you. And we will now continue on to item number 8, which is an informational monthly report from board appointees on the Sonoma Marin Area Rail Transit Board. And I'll start off the report with Barb.
It's not a very long one, but it was interesting. You like my old-fashioned computer? The first thing was a ridership report. You know, SMART is always proud of their riderships. This was the 7th straight month that we carried over 100,000 riders, which is significant. It was 25% higher than October of last year and 110% higher than our pre-COVID. So we consider that recovered from COVID. The highlights of the month were we have an information systems manager, Brian Crowley, that has been with us for a long time, and he was given a thank you. I don't know if any of you have interfaced with SMART, but one of the people that is our public face is Emily Betts. And she has done all of the planning and outreach for SMART and is very well respected. She is now leaving us and going to Sonoma County Transit. I thought that's what it was, but I didn't have it written down. Yes. Anyway, so we will miss Emily. Let me use my magic thing here and get to the next one. The meeting was virtually filled with financial information. We got a clean audit from IDE, which does the audit here. We had a presentation on what our funding was, how it was working with the taxes that we collect, the sales tax, which are a little bit behind. Then we had an investment report. Then one of the interesting things was, I don't know if any of you are bike riders. I know that Bert is, but I don't think he would have accessed this. There's an organization called Redwood Bike Share, and I'm sure those of you in that part of the town. Anyway, we had a marvelous presentation from the Redwood Bike Share folks. The gentleman that presented it was extremely knowledgeable, had all kinds of information, it's a company that evidently is nationwide.
Yeah, pilot program out of MTC.
Right. And thank you. It was a pilot program out of MTC. I didn't have that part in here. Anyway, it was wonderful. We asked everyone wants more and more and more and more. So he took all the notes that he could. But it's been very successful. So far we've had 11,500 trips. And you probably already know this. 3,000 unique riders. The rides are about 16 minutes long and about 2 miles. And so it's a pay per go. You use an app and you can pay for it. Do you have anything to add?
It's become very popular, especially at SSU and at the Katati station as well.
Yes.
A lot of high school kids are using it.
Oh, great. Well, anyway, look for more. It's on its way. And last but by no means least, we had a presentation on the Clipper update. And the bottom line is they're starting some things now, but it won't be finished. So it's an ever evolving, would you say, Dennis, you winced. Must have said.
December general manager's report, I'll provide an update.
Good.
Tentatively, it's scheduled for the start of the rollout on December 10th.
December 10th, right.
And if that is met, then people will be able to use a tap and pay with a credit card or debit card in addition to Clipper. And then the accounts will be transitioned over the following 3 months. Once the accounts are transitioned, then additional functionality will come into play that will greatly enhance the customer experience.
Right. There are lots of little nuances to it, and they were very careful not to get us in the weeds with the presentation because it isn't quite time to be in the weeds. But as of December 10th, I believe the tap for pay will be there. I think that concludes my report.
I'll just thank you so much for the report, especially since I just asked you to do it. I want to just mention one other item. In terms of our fiscal year, 45% of all revenue is from freight. So we're trying very hard to increase that, which is 31% over projections. And that helps, obviously, with the bottom line. And thank you again, Barb.
My pleasure. We're going to get together.
Yeah, I just want to mention unofficially, BART has radically improved the people going with this change.
Yes, they started first.
What Director Hill's referring to is that as a pilot basis to test the tap and pay with debit and credit cards that was rolled out on BART, and already 10% of all ridership is using a credit card as opposed to another fare immediate to pay. If we're talking Clipper, I could give a big shout out to Jennifer Minucci and her team and folks at Bus and Ferry because there's lots of testing going on and there's a full court press. And Jennifer's leading the district's efforts with our regional partners in getting this across the finish line.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. I could see Jennifer smiling back there. And I knew that there was something I should do to acknowledge something wonderful she'd done. And I didn't know that, so thank you.
Yes, Jim.
Clarification. So with tap and pay, are they paying the same fare as Clipper?
So the MTC, when they rolled out business rules with their vendor Cubic, did not consult the transit operators. And so the fare will be the same as a Clipper fare. So there won't be an incentive necessarily financially, at least initially, to use a Clipper as opposed to a credit card or a debit card. For us, that has financial implications. Right now, tourists, when they come to the Bay Area and spend lots of money going around, when they rent a bike and go across the bridge and go to Sausalito, they buy a ticket from a ticket vending machine to ride our ferry back. And it's what I refer to as our cable car fare. But with the debit and credit card tapping, they will be able to get the discount that our regular commuters get as opposed to paying a significantly higher fare, which helps our finances. So we will see some revenue impacts with this. And once it's fully implemented, we'll come back with some ideas for fare accumulators and different things to have a loyalty program. Kind of like you buy 5 sandwiches, you get 1 free at the local deli. We'll be able to have that functionality at some point with Clipper 2.0. And so we may want to, on paper raise fares, but for commuters keep it the same by having a discount program that is so many rides, you get 1 free. So there's lots of functionality that we'll have, and we're really looking forward to all that.
Does it affect our credit card processing fees?
So, MTC, first question Jennifer asked and her team asked. So, if you have a Clipper card and you add, $40 to it with a credit card, you pay a credit card fee once. If you tap your credit card all the time, then you pay a credit card fee all the time. So there are some cost implications as well as for us, revenue implications with how this is rolled out. And so we got to sort through all that. The key is it's much more functional for a rider. We carry a lot of tourists on our buses now in San Francisco post-pandemic, and to see them pull out a muni paper pass and to be told no, they pull out a credit card and they're told no, and you say Clipper and they look at you funny. It'd be nice to just be able to tap a credit card. So the functionality will help us. And the Sausalito area, we carry a lot of tourists, particularly spring through fall, and so it will help us with people collecting their money, but the fees will go up, I suspect, a little bit.
Okay, any other questions before we get into the weeds? No? All righty. That concludes discussion on item number 8. But before we move on, is there anyone from the public who who would like to?
We have no speakers from the public on the side.
No action is required for item number 8, so we will continue on to item number 9, which is a staff report on engineering projects that begins on page 29. John Ellerby is here to present the report. John, go right ahead.
Thank you. Good morning. Okay. My written report is before you, and there are a few items I'd like to bring to your attention. First, I want to report that we have submitted the award recommendation documents to Caltrans. They're reviewing them. They have a few questions, but we anticipate that they'll make the recommendation for award and approval in a week or two, at which time we will then forward the contract to the contractor, Halmar, and we'll get moving on that project. So we're happy about that. I also want to report that we have provided to 2 different electrical contractors plans and specifications for the emergency bridge repair electrical project, and we requested their proposals in 2 weeks. We have all the equipment on hand, so after we receive those, we'll make a determination on contractors and get moving on that emergency project. Also, PG&E has finally scheduled their transformer installation at the Summerville bus facility. We've been waiting to do that transformer so we can power switch over from the old transformer. And then we'll be able to test all of our solar panels and finish up that project hopefully by the end of the year or maybe early January. So that's going to happen in December when PG&E comes out, up on December 12th, and then a couple weeks after that doing this cutover. And then I wanted to report that on October 25th, that was Saturday after our last meeting, about 9 in the morning, it was a rainy day out here at the bridge, and vehicle lost control on the pavement and went through the railing on Lincoln Boulevard undercrossing, fell down 15 feet onto Lincoln Boulevard down below. Fortunately, there was no injuries. But the railing was destroyed. It was determined that it could not be repaired. So we did an emergency contract. GM will report on that tomorrow to have a contractor come out, furnish K-rail temporary railing because we couldn't open the roadway because of the opening in the railing. But I just wanted to say it was a very collaborative effort with bridge forces, starting with the sergeant's office, reporting right away the incident. And then we had engineering take a look at it. We had bridge forces, roadway folks, the laborers, iron workers, operating engineers. Everyone came together, and by Monday morning, we had it all buttoned up and opened up to traffic again. And so I will also be coming forward with the project to replace that railing in the future. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on my report.
Thank you, John. Colleagues, are there any questions for John or comments you wish to make? Thank you once again. There is no action associated with item number 9, as you know. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item or address the committee under item number 10, which is...
We have no speakers for this item, and we have no speakers under public comment.
Thank you. And with that, we have reached the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Second, I'm sure he's out there. Hearing no objections, this concludes the meeting of the Building and Operating Committee. Thank you, colleagues. The time is 10:42.